The front of a few of the papers, we already talked about a couple of the papers this morning, but the front of the Guardian has got millions in line for payouts over car finance mis-selling scandal. Times have got it as well. Millions of drivers in line for 950 quid over car finance scandal. A few others as well give it a mention. But yeah, this was a story that was big on Friday, wasn't it? We were talking about this. The trade body for the car finance industry has questioned whether the compensation scheme for mis-sold car finance could work properly. Because it was ruled, wasn't it, by the courts, the Supreme Court actually on Friday. And it wasn't all upheld. Some of it was, some of it wasn't. So this scheme is going to cover purchases dating back to 2007, but the Finance and Leasing Association has warned that many of its members probably won't hold data going back that far. And like I said, this comes after the city regulator announced a consultation on a compensation scheme in response to the Supreme Court ruling on Friday. The BBC's Peter Ruddick has more on this.
The Supreme Court on Friday may have sided with the car finance industry in some areas, but not all. And over the weekend, the regulator confirmed some lenders had not complied with the rules and it would consult on a payout scheme. And it could be quite a sizable one. The Financial Conduct Authority estimates motorists could be due a share of anything between around £9 billion and £18 billion. Per claim, well, it said motorists will probably get less than £950 on average. Remember, though, that's per car finance deal. And there's not too much longer to wait. The first payments are expected to be made next year if a scheme does go ahead. What's the delay? Well, the regulator still needs to talk with the car finance industry on how it would exactly work. By early October, a 6-week consultation will be launched. Will drivers need to opt in, or will it be automatic? How will the compensation payments be calculated? And crucially, what deals will be included? Now, we expect it to include car loan commission in cases where dealers had the discretion to choose the interest rate we were paid. They were banned in 2021. But because of the Supreme Court ruling, excessive or unfair commission could also be included, which means the scheme could include deals taken out as recently as last year.
To BBC's Peter Ruddick with a bit of the detail there. We spoke to Scott Dixon on Friday, a consumer and motoring disputes expert who runs the Complaints Resolver. Hi, Scott.
Hi, Elliot. Speaking once again.
Yeah, well, we were sort of we were previewing it really, what was going to happen, and well, it wasn't upheld, was it? But bits of it were the Supreme Court ruling. So, just remind us then of how we stand now.
Yeah, so the Supreme Court, they ruled that millions of motorists will not be able to claim compensation for hidden commissions paid on car loans. And that decision has reversed earlier Court of Appeal rulings that had opened up the possibility of widespread compensation claims from motorists on a similar scale to the PPI scandal. And the Supreme Court, they looked at 3 cases in the joint appeal brought by 2 lenders. And they've ruled in favour of lenders in 2 out of 3 cases, stating that non-disclosure of commission does not make a financial deal unfair or unlawful. But the interesting case that the courts ruled against the lender on, it's what's known as the Johnson case. They found that the commission was excessive, 55%.
Wow.
And it was unfair and misleading.
So that's 55% of the value of the car was commission?
Yeah,
wow.
And they said to Mr. Johnson at the time they had a panel of, I think it was 21 different lenders to choose from, but that wasn't the case at all, you know. And he was misled, and the agreement was considered unfair. And this is where it gets interesting, because the Financial Conduct Authority, they announced yesterday that they're going to set up a compensation scheme for consumers who were unlawfully sold car finance and unaware that their car dealership was receiving a commission from the finance firm. And their remit originally was focused on discretionary commission arrangements. And that's where the broker could adjust the interest rate offered to a customer, and they were not properly disclosed. So that's where the dealers could adjust the interest rate. And the higher the interest rate, the higher the commission.
So who, in a nutshell, and try and keep it as simple as you can, Scott, I know this is all quite complicated, but so who is likely to receive some kind of compensation then?
So anybody that had a discretionary commission arrangement finance deal between April 2007 and January 2021, That's roughly about 40% of all car finance deals on PCP or HP. They are likely to be eligible. And also anybody with a non-discretionary commission arrangement should be included if it ticks the boxes in line with the case that the Supreme Court upheld. The commission was excessive.
Yeah, excessive. Yeah. So how would you know then? How would you know that you had one of those agreements?
The simple way to find out is to contact your lender. Don't use a claims management firm. If you haven't already submitted a complaint, simply do so now. And if your complaint ticks the boxes, the Financial Conduct Authority will pay out automatically. They'll instruct lenders to, as part of the redress scheme. The consultation starts in October this year, and the payouts will follow in due course.
So basically, if anyone listening to this now bought a car from a dealership going back to 2007, then it's probably worth, and you bought it on finance, it's probably worth getting in touch with them to find out if you've been missold it, yeah?
Yeah, definitely. And as I say, all you have to do is just ask your lender, just submit a complaint to your lender. And because these finance agreements go back to April 2007, it's already been highlighted that it will be problematic for lenders to track down these agreements. So what you can do is you can go onto Experian or Equifax. These are the credit reference agencies. And you can find your finance details historically through there. And maybe you've got old photos of your car, and you can remember the registration number, your date of birth, your name. Give them as much information as possible. And you can't rely on them to contact you because you may have moved house, they may have destroyed their records.
Yeah.
So you're going to face an uphill struggle. But it's
definitely worth doing it. I mean, and like you said, it's like PPI a little bit, isn't it? And lots of people got compensation from that, and it just takes a little bit of legwork, but definitely worth doing.
Yeah, very much so, Elliot. And, just submit a complaint. You don't have to do anything else. It's not for you to find out whether it was considered unfair or if it meets the criteria. Just submit a complaint, and if it ticks the boxes, the payout will follow.
They are. Happy days. We like that. Nice and simple. Scott, lovely to speak to you, mate. Thank you very much for coming back on and clarifying what it all means. There's Scott Dixon from Complaint Resolver. You can look them up as well if you want a bit more advice. But yeah, I mean, and whatever you do, don't go to one of these management, these claims management companies, CMCs, because they take about 30-40% sometimes. So if you ended up getting £1,000, you'd be giving 30-40% of it to them, and you don't need to. So just literally go back to the person who did the finance for you on the car all the way back to 2007. You can go and check it, and good luck. Enjoy spending the money if you get it.